Should you be taking supplements? Should you avoid supplements? Are they a waste of money? Do they actually help you? Is it a scam? There's so many questions around supplementation, and I hope to really address many of them in this video. Why some work, why some don't, how you should take them, and every little question in between. So let's dive into the ins and outs of supplements. But before we do, I'm Dr. Nick Zarowski, and welcome to the channel. Be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification, and for all my natural health videos, go to www.drzee.tv. And I really like this topic here because I think that it's highly misunderstood. And I know that because on all my social media, when I do videos, I get tons of comments that are so far out there when it comes to this particular topic, you know, and I've seen everything across the board from people who are taking like 80 capsules of supplementation a day to people who believe that they're just trash. So that's why I want to go through this article from the Epic Times by Mr. Peters here. And I really want to break down many of the topics they're talking about so that we can truly understand supplementation. Now, supplements have been a massive industry with plenty of enthusiastic promoters, but for all the research telling us how certain vitamins and nutrients affect our bodies, taking supplements can't always deliver the results we hope to expect. So, you know, supplements shouldn't really ever be used in the way of like just a pharmaceutical where it's like you ignore a good healthy lifestyle, you ignore working out, you don't take care of yourself at all, but then you're going to solve them with supplements. Like that's just ignorant, okay? And when you hear these things like, oh, they don't work, or whatever, it's typically what you're seeing people do. Because I can tell you that I've had some extremely transformative cases that I've worked with, and we use supplements in order to help them. In my clinical experience, this Dr. Tamara says, benefits from supplements is most successful when tailored with the unique nutritional needs of an individual. And so she goes on to say that it's important to make sure that you're getting expert advice from a knowledgeable provider who can help you with a proper supplement regimen, okay? And there's a lot of importance to that, okay? And I think that is very important because I find that people are taking supplements all the time that they don't need. For instance, I'll see somebody who wants to work with me, and they'll be taking like 15 supplements and they'll be like, well, I don't know what more you can do for me because I'm already doing all the supplements. And it's like, yeah, you're taking all the wrong stuff. You're missing like the big picture. There's a lot here that we need to worry about. And when the reality hits, they're taking supplements that their body doesn't need. They just keep chasing a million symptoms, and it's very difficult to ever get anywhere like that. And so that's why when I work with people, we actually custom formulate supplements for the individuals. And the other thing that we do, if this is just somebody in the general public who wants very specific vitamins, we run a process called Vita ID, which actually allows you to get the specific supplements that you need. So you fill out a big questionnaire, and then we go and make recommendations where we actually formulate it in a package for you. So you just get little packets, okay? So that's me showing you like, hey, I actually think it is very important to make sure you're getting the supplements you need. And the problem with most people is you're hearing all these different symptoms when you scour the internet and Google and the supplements that will help with different symptoms, but you know, that's like really difficult to narrow down what you actually need because you can have one symptom that 10 different supplements can help with. And so all of a sudden you're on 10 different supplements trying to solve a problem, and maybe it's none of them, you know what I mean? None of them are going to move the needle. So I think it's very important to get exactly what you need. And such an expert can take a wide variety of factors into consideration, the expert said, including age, sex, genetics, family history, illness, lifestyle factors, and more. It may also be prudent to test for nutrient deficiencies. Okay, this is also very important because when you start looking at, you know, age, does a 8-year-old need the same dosage as a 25-year-old? Does somebody who's obese need the same dosage as somebody who's thin? Does a male need the same dosage as a female? What are your genetics? We actually do something called nutrigenomics, where we actually look at the genetics of individuals and base supplementations off of that. You know, have you been sick before? So there's a lot that goes into it, okay? And then, of course, you actually can test for nutritional deficiencies as well, and you can look at every stinking nutrient under the sun, and you can determine, hey, does this person have a problem with any of these? So there's a lot of factors that can go into actually making sure somebody gets the exact vitamins and nutrients that they need. This is something that we do clinically all the time. So when I see people on the internet go, oh, Dr. Zrowski, like supplements don't work. Like, okay, well, what are you doing with them? Because there's a lot of ways you could be using them. If you're just searching Google and chasing symptoms, yeah, probably not. But if you're actually hitting things with pinpoint accuracy and getting at the root cause of problems, then definitely. Value for dollar. So with many different types of supplements available and with new ones coming on the market daily, beyond expert advice, how can you be sure that you are choosing a safe, high-quality product that could actually provide some benefit? Well, this is something that's a huge question, because supplements are something that, like, pretty much anybody who is trying to make a buck and who has the actual money to get into putting a supplement brand together can do fairly easily. But the problem is that a lot of the supplements out there are totally garbage. And it's really interesting and frustrating from my standpoint, because I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, like the marketers that go and put supplements together, like, they're making crazy claims, and they say things that, like, a doctor, a professional could never say, because a professional would be held liable, where a lot of just, you know, marketing gurus on the internet who are creating products and throwing them out there in the marketplace, well, they're making claims in most cases that you could never make as a healthcare professional, but they're getting away with it. You know, they won't get away with it forever, but, you know, at least they might get a smack on the hand and be told they can't make that claim, whereas a doctor could literally lose licensing over that. So, you know, I get very frustrated with that, because I see a ton of claims that are untrue. And it's a huge problem in the supplement market in general, is that there's so many companies out there trying to capitalize on it, that you are just getting a lot of false claims, you're getting a lot of very garbage products, and it becomes very difficult for the average person to navigate, right? And there's a lot of things you have to take into consideration when you are getting a product. So they go on to say one way to verify a product's quality is to look at the products that have been tested by an independent third party, such as Consumer Labs, the NSF, or Banned Substances Control Group. Third-party testing isn't required by law, but some manufacturers still choose to have their product third-party tested as a sign of their commitment to quality and transparency. So this becomes a little bit shaky too, because, like I said, a lot of products aren't actually even required to be tested, right? And so therefore, like, nobody is looking at this stuff, average consumers, right? So a lot of this stuff is full of all kinds of toxins, right? Heavy metals, herbicides, pesticides. There may even be stuff in it that, like, fillers and all kinds of things that aren't supposed to be in it, so people don't even really know what they're buying. But beyond that, you know, they can be very toxic. So a lot of the labs that we will work with in, you know, clinical practice, they're ones that are doing their own testing that's, like, far above and beyond third party. So little third party tests just to have that, like, you know, check that badge on their brand and say, yeah, we're third party tested. But the ones that are truly working, like in patient care, they're doing testing that's even far above and beyond that. That's why it's like, even for me, I get frustrated because I might need products for a patient I'm working with, and it's like, some of the labs I work with, they're like, oh no, we're back ordered again because we had to send back this particular ingredient, because if they find heavy metals, they find stuff in it, they do not use it. And so after they do their testing, you know, it doesn't matter, we're staying back ordered, we can't make it for you because it's got some junk in it. So these independent groups test for illegal substances, validate that the ingredient list are on the label are actually what is in the bottle, because that's a big problem, test for product potency, and provide a certificate of analysis. Like, there's been all kinds of crazy stuff found in supplements over the years. Like, there was one supplement, I can't remember the name of it, but there was like borax soap in it. Like, it was just like, they just use all kinds of crazy things as fillers. So unlike prescription drugs, the Food and Drug Administration doesn't regulate the safety and quality of dietary supplements before they go to market. Instead, it's the responsibility of each manufacturer to ensure that the safety standards are met and the supplements actually contain the ingredients and potency listed on the label. So what the FDA basically does is it goes into these different facilities that are making these supplements, and they shake them up. They're like, hey, we want to see everything top to bottom. We want to see, you know, the claims you're making. We want to see all the details of every product. So they'll go in and they'll still check the manufacturing labs. However, they don't check every single product that goes out. And so this is where you can kind of have a problem with this, but this also gets a little bit shaky too, because trusting the FDA on this is not a great thing. The FDA likes promoting pharmaceuticals. The FDA does not particularly act very friendly to supplementation. Unfortunately, this isn't always the case. According to the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, a 2012 government study found that 20% of supplements marketed for weight loss or immune system support made illegal claims on the label. The FDA has also found prescription drugs and thousands of products being sold as a dietary supplement. So one of the challenges with supplementation in general is that the FDA pretty much wants you to tell people that they're worthless, right? Like, making any claim on supplements is very difficult. Like, basically claiming that a supplement can do something positive for you is very difficult. They want to basically say, like, yeah, these things don't do anything for you. Yeah, people can sell them, people can buy them, but they don't really do anything. And which is kind of silly, because there's a lot of research out there, and the FDA doesn't even recognize some of the claims that are found in research. The FDA does play some roles. It may inspect supplement manufacturing facilities. Okay, so as I was just saying, and it monitors and reports of adverse events that are submitted by the companies themselves, healthcare professionals, and consumers. The agency also prohibits supplement manufacturers from making false claims or exaggerated claims, okay? Like I said, the challenge with that is, I know some supplement manufacturers are making some great products, and the FDA comes in and just turns them upside down. It's like, nope, you can basically claim nothing. You can claim that this thing does nothing for people. But because the human body is complex, they say, and people are so different from one another, sometimes the science itself is uncertain. Study results on the safety and effectiveness of many supplements are mixed and also conflicting. So basically what they say is, make sure that you're working with a trusted healthcare provider, and make sure that you're getting the proper nutrition that you need, and of course working with trusted brands, okay? And this is something that's important. Like, I get brands that approach me probably couple times a day wanting me to promote their product, and like, I don't even mess with them, because I have a couple brands I already work with, and like, I know that I can trust them, right? And then when you start getting into all these other brands out there, it becomes so difficult to actually truly understand, even from my perspective, somebody who has been involved in formulation, the science behind it, understanding the processes of making sure the ingredients are pure. It can even be really difficult for me to understand whether or not these companies are using good practices, because sometimes you can get some of these third-party testing check marks, but still the quality of the product is not good, okay? So should you strictly supplement? They go on to basically say, hey, look, supplements are just that. They are supplements. And so, you know, it shouldn't be something you're living off of. And to kind of give you an example, I had mentioned, you know, one time I had brought on a new patient I was working with, and this individual was on 80 capsules a day from a healthcare provider. I was just shocked. I'm like, how are you taking 80 capsules of supplementation a day? Like, literally, how do you even consume that many? Well, they had diarrhea and everything else as a result. So the reality is that some people just like don't know what they're doing, and they go way too overboard on this, okay? So one of my things I always try to do is keep it to a minimum. When working with anybody, I try to keep it as minimal as possible when it comes to supplementation, because I want to make sure that like nobody's overburdened by it. And of course, if you're taking that many supplements, there's no way that you're gonna actually feel good. You know, you have to make sure that like you're working on lifestyle and every other aspect of your health, not just taking copious amounts of supplements. So the article goes on to say, it's important to note that even though dietary supplements may be natural in some sense, they are taken from the leaves, the roots, and other substances found in nature. That doesn't mean they are risk-free. They can actually cause adverse reactions with your medications, and there could be some problems with it, which is highly likely. I mean, you have to be careful with that. But on the same hand, you know, they go on to say issues and problems because supplements are concentrated forms of specific compounds. You could overdose with them, and this is something too that you have to, you know, understand each and every supplement. So for instance, like, you know, they go on to say, you know, vitamin A will cause bone health issues and cause the risk of fractures and osteoporosis if you're taking it in excessive amounts. Well, okay, it's one of very few. So your fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, those are all possible to overdose with. But the reality is that many other things are very difficult to overdose with. Like basically, if you take too much of it, your body's just going to get rid of it through your urine. And so with some of these different fat-soluble vitamins, yeah, you don't want to go overboard with them, but in the same hand, you're looking at a situation where a lot of people are lacking them in their diet, they're lacking them in their bodies, right? Vitamin D is a huge one you hear about all the time. Vitamin K is a huge one. And so, you know, you'll always have people screaming that, oh my gosh, you'll overdose, but then the reality is it's, how often do we hear of overdoses? It's very, very rare. So it is important to know it can happen, so don't be negligent by any means, but also, you know that it's not something that just happens after you take like 2 capsules of vitamin A. You'd have to be taking like huge amounts of vitamin A for a long period of time in most cases, or huge amounts of vitamin D for a very long period of time in order to get to that point, right? And not too many people are that ignorant enough to do that. I'm sure it happens, but, you know, when we look at supplements in general, the biggest reasons that people don't see results is because they're not taking the right things. Okay, we have this happen all the time. People be like, Dr. Zarowski, I took this supplement and it didn't work. It's like, okay, well, that's not your problem. It's not that the supplement doesn't work. It's that you have a problem that that supplement isn't solving because it's not what you need. That supplement will work fine if you take it in the appropriate circumstances. You're just not taking it correctly. And meaning that you just need something else most likely. So you got to move on from it and then try something else. So we see people take the wrong stuff all the time, right? And that's the person who is taking like 15 supplements. They come in and they aren't getting well. And so anyway, what we do is we work on getting them the proper stuff that they need. And that's why that's important, taking the right things. Now, another thing is dosing is a huge problem for people, right? So when you go and buy typical supplements from the store, you're going to find that the dosing is just not good, right? Like you might go pick up a CoQ10 and it's got like, 50 milligrams of CoQ10, where the reality is, studies show that like upwards of like 200 milligrams for an older adult male is an ideal situation. And that's per day. And so it's like you look at the different dosings and it's a joke. So for instance, I'll throw another one out there. Vitamin D. You'll go to a store and you'll find vitamin D and it's like, oh my gosh, what a good deal, right? And people see these different vitamins at their local grocery stores and they think, oh my gosh, these guys like, Dr. Zarowski, who recommends these supplements that are so expensive, these guys are just ripping people off, because you can go to down the road to the grocery store and they have a vitamin D that's a month's supply for $10 or maybe even less than that. And then the reality is that vitamin D is coming from soy. So you're getting basically something that's going to raise estrogen in your body. So it's soy based. It's the lowest quality form of vitamin D you can get. And then to top it off, when you look at how many IUs is in it, it's not even enough to be relevant in any way. And so you're looking at like bad sources of ingredients. You're looking at a dosing that's irrelevant versus, taking a vitamin D that's coming from olive oil, or one that's even coming from fermented soy, which is a good source for vitamin D. And so there's a lot of different subtle nuances that most people don't understand. When people tell me like, oh, they sell this exact same product that you recommended and they sell it at the grocery store down the road for 1/8 of the price, I'm going, okay, yeah, sure they do, because I know full well that they don't. I mean, let me take another example. Vitamin C. Most vitamin C is very inexpensive, right? Well, most vitamin C comes from GMO corn. So it's like when we went and looked at vitamin C and looked at what kind of sourcing we would want, we found that the best sourcing isn't really going to come from like tapioca, right? So then basically it's a totally different source. It drives up the cost and everything, but I don't want vitamin C from GMO corn that's highly sprayed with pesticides and every other nasty thing as a source of vitamin C for the patients I'm working with. Like I just don't. And so you have to look at every one of these little details of supplements and understand that there's a lot of behind the scenes that goes on. I mean, I'm friends with biochemists and very, very smart people who do this stuff for a living, and I've learned a lot from them. That's how I, get my knowledge. I've toured some of these different labs where they're making these things. I've participated in formulating different products. That's another issue, is that a lot of times when marketers take products to the market, right, as in like, you know, just the guy who's looking to get rich off of selling supplements, he takes a product to the market, and essentially you find yourself in a situation where he took a couple ingredients that they could basically, you know, oh gosh, what's it? Apple cider vinegar would be a great example, right? Apple cider vinegar is like a hot product right now. And it is something that a lot of people are buying without any knowledge. So then you go and look at apple cider vinegar gummies, right? It's utter nonsense. There's not enough apple cider vinegar in there to do anything. The dosing is completely irrelevant to anything the research has to say. And so it's like the dosing's wrong, so that'll never help you. The product contains tons of sugar, but you get marketers going, apple cider vinegar, weight loss, throwing all the buzzwords out there. And then people are like, yeah, that's what I need. And then they're buying this stuff and it's total trash, you know. So we have to be careful as consumers, and we have to really make intelligent decisions, because like, look, when you spend money, hard-earned money on this kind of stuff, you want it to work for you. You don't want to have something that's just going to be throwing money away. So make sure that you're always making good choices. You know, if you ever want to get advice, you can always call into the clinic and you can talk to one of our nutritionists. If you ever, if you want to work one-on-one, if you want to actually get, you know, supplements that are custom formulated for you, we run a process called Vita ID where you do that. So we have a lot of things that are designed to help you as a consumer make better choices around supplementation, because you are far better off taking like 2 supplements that you really need than like 15 that are all missing the boat. And so it's a huge problem that isn't going to go away anytime soon. And it's a disaster from many standpoints, because like, for one, you have a lot of opportunists trying to make money, and they're just making false claims. They're doing everything wrong as far as the formulation. And so that's frustrating for consumers. You have the FDA that really doesn't like supplements at all, and if they had it their way, it would just be pharmaceuticals, and they would also take control of the supplement market. Like you hear of like them wanting to take control of NAC and make it a prescription, and things like vitamin D and make it a prescription. These are problems that they've been dabbling with for years, trying to push some of these supplements into that realm. And so they're not really a help in this area. So there's a lot of problems, but the best thing you can do is always, you know, just buy from trusted sources, and not trusted sources that have like the best marketing, but trusted sources that like are really going and doing the right research and putting the right things out there. I mean, one of the things we do is we actually put all the references to the products, like the studies that claim, the studies that prove, I should say, the claims that we make, they're all listed. Like if we tell you NAC will do this, all the citations are there at the product. If we tell you vitamin D will accomplish this at this dosing level and everything, all the citations are there, because it's important to make sure the dosing's right. It's important to make sure that the product is good quality, that it's been purity tested, and every little thing in between. So I know this is a lot of information on supplementation, but you know, being, like I said, I see people very misinformed on this topic. I kind of wanted to jump into this when I saw this and go, maybe I can help people make better buying decisions. Maybe I can help people make better decisions how they're spending their money, so that you can actually get well with the money you spend versus throwing it all away at, you know, the latest supplement that you got marketed. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this one, watch this one over here.